Hello and welcome to another Around the Lens Roundtable Discussion. I'm your host, David J. Murphy. Zach is taking off tonight. He's actually in Minneapolis covering some of the fun that's happening over there, so I'm sure we'll hear about that next week. Our guests tonight are two returning panelists to the show, Gary Hershorn and Ben Brody. Why don't we go and start with your credentials, guys? Gary, why don't you go first?
Hi, good evening. At the present time, I am the director of photography at ABC News Digital. I've been there for the last 3.5 years. And on top of that, I'm a contributor to Getty Images with all the pictures that I take in and around New York City.
Wonderful, wonderful. All right, and Ben?
Hi, yeah, thanks for having me on. Yeah, I'm the director of photography at Report for America. I spent most of my career photographing the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. Published a couple of books on the subject. I kind of work at the intersection of journalism and art and propaganda, and do some teaching too, but also fix up old chainsaws and motorcycles and live in the woods in Western
Uh,
Massachusetts.
Oh, wow. You didn't mention that earlier. We could have built our entire show around fixing up
The night is
motorcycles
young.
and chainsaws. But, anyways, awesome. Well, glad to have you both here this week. And I want to talk first about, working as a photojournalist today. You obviously talked to me about earlier, Ben. You have 19 photojournalists working for you. Obviously, we always hear about the career field, and it's always dire straits, right? It's going away. You can't find work. The love of photojournalism is there, but the actual money that can pay for it is dwindling. But if you've got 19 working photojournalists for you, talk to me about like what it's like to be a photojournalist today, and the career opportunities that might be out there for someone interested in being a photojournalist.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think like when a young person who hasn't really sort of oriented their whole life around photography or photojournalism yet is asking me, whether they think they should do this, I generally tell them like, if you have other options, you should probably take them. But for many of us, this is just how we're made. This is what we do. So I want to keep a torch lit for folks like that. So yeah, in my 5 years at Report for America, we've had 46 photographers who have all been full-time staff members at local newsrooms all across the U.S. And there is this sort of strange disconnect between like people's willingness to pay for newsrooms' willingness to like pay for photojournalism, like to hire a photojournalist, and the fact that photography drives engagement several orders of magnitude more than text content on a page. So that's something we're still sort of trying to make click for the newsrooms, but there's no shortage of hungry, talented, amazingly caring, service-oriented young people looking to document their communities.
Talk to me about what Report for America actually is exactly.
Sure. So, Report for America is a national service organization that helps train and place early career reporters in local newsrooms across the country. So we subsidize the salaries of the reporters and photojournalists. Um, and they are full-time staff members at these newsrooms for 3-year periods. So right now we have more than 200 reporters currently in RFA. We have something like 600 alumni, and have helped increase the reporting capacity at local newsrooms. Now, that's not to say we don't work with big outlets. Like we have a photographer, Candace Dane Chambers, at Chicago Sun-Times. I mean, that's a big paper, right? But Candace is
Sure.
working on a local beat.
Hmm.
Um, Anthony Vasquez is one of our alumni, also at the Sun-Times, is still there. A lot of our photojournalists at the end of the sort of 3-year Report for America program get hired full-time by their newsrooms to stay on. And yeah, out of 46, almost every single person is still in photojournalism now. So I'm trying to figure out, that thing like, is photojournalism something you can just kind of like do in your 20s and maybe kind of into your 30s if you're really cranking it? I haven't quite found like a solution to that. But I also like always advise young people to diversify their skill sets. Like, I mean, when I was like working in Afghanistan half the year, like the other half the year, I was like flipping chainsaws and motorcycles and like living cheap and making ends meet in that way. And also teaching and, getting a foot in the art world and like learning about photo books and, it just, if you've got 5 jobs and one of them blows up in your face or starts to annoy you, like it's okay. You got 4 others.
That's right. You can always get part of the gig economy, right? You can get to
Yeah.
drive for Uber,
No,
or
nobody's got time for that.
well, I'm just saying, like if you need 5 jobs, right? You could do
Yeah,
that
sure.
to augment.
Um, yeah, I don't know. I mean, what do you see, Gary?
Well, my attachment to photojournalism now is 100% being an editor,
Hmm.
looking at the content that comes into our picture desk, say at ABC News, from the global news agencies. So I feel like after I spent 30 years at Reuters on the content creation side, being out there reporting on the news for all that time, and it was fantastic, absolutely fantastic. But for the last 11 years, I've been on the publishing side. So rather than being out on a day by day basis shooting the news, I get to see everything that's being done by photographers all over the world. And it is it's the business has definitely changed insofar as the speed by which photographers are able to deliver the goods. They're
Hmm.
be able to deliver their content to publishers who are looking for it, and in a way that it makes my head spin. I sit in an office in New York, and Donald Trump does something somewhere today. He was in Detroit, for example, and the speed by which the images of Donald Trump leaving the White House, getting on Air Force One at Andrews, landing in Detroit, moving to the venue, going on a tour at the Ford assembly line in Dearborn today, and then ending up at the um, Economic Club of Detroit, to give a speech. And then the pictures of him getting back to the airport in Detroit, landing at Andrews, and getting off the plane at Andrews and doing a press conference. It's remarkable. He says something. There's an alert that goes out. It might be
Hmm.
on whatever data miner or whatever systems you use for all your alerts. And before that alert barely gets to me, I've already got a photo of it. Right, I've got a photo of the moment of him. Photographers, who, it used to be that wow, whoever had the best picture, got in print. Now it's who got the first picture out
Yeah.
is the one that wins the day, right? And I'll be honest with you, today, the most pictures that I chose and used today came from Reuters
Hmm.
today. And they're on the plane, they're on Air Force One with a Getty photographer, an AP photographer, an AFP photographer. And they're all competing, and whoever's first, basically gets in print.
Hmm.
And it's weird to be in a profession like photography where everybody is excelling and trying to get the best image possible, but the best image rarely gets in print. It's
Yeah.
a really weird thing how the best picture doesn't always get in print. And the other constraint, that I try to explain to my friends at the Wires when we meet up for client visits and things like that, is that I always tell them the best picture doesn't get in print. The best picture that fits 8 crops gets
Mhm.
in print because we're no different. Our website is no different than any other website that is. Sorry, our website's no different than any other news publisher's website, whether it's New York Times or whatever. We all have different shaped holes on our home pages, and when we take a picture in and present it to the editors for use, that picture has to fit every one of those holes. So I try to tell them, don't overcrop your photos because if you end up putting a picture on the wire that's a really tight, crop that a lot of photographers like to use, it doesn't fit half the crops that we would use that picture in on our homepage. So I can't use that photo. Even though it's a great photo, I can't really use it because I'm
Yeah.
going to butcher the crop in one of 8 different crops. And there's some are very extreme crops. So it's a the premise of photography is exactly the same as when I started 48 years ago in this business. Uh, we all go out, we want to get the first picture, and back in those days, we also wanted to be the first on the wire. Except being first on the wire meant waiting about 45 minutes for you to develop your film and make a print and type a caption and a 10-minute transmission in the old school wire ways. Now, it was literally, 45 minutes to an hour at the fastest to get a picture to a client.
That's
Now it
funny.
takes a minute.
I'm laughing because like I've never cared in the slightest about like the speed with which I deliver pictures, much to the
Right.
chagrin of my editors, I'm sure. But like as far as like the best, like you don't know what the best picture is. Like I don't even know what the best picture is like in the first year that I took it. Like it
Right.
takes me some distance from like actually being on the scene and knowing what things smelled like and knowing what the pic like who was in the
Mhm.
picture and what their personality was and divorcing yourself from all of that until you can really just assess it as what is in the picture. What is this picture like actually saying?
Yes.
Because like then you start to sort of understand its function in society and like how it's going to work.
Right.
And so yeah, I'm just like there are other ways to do photojournalism rather than that like blazing fast like stockbroker like approach to it because I ain't wired like that.
Right.
But I
Right.
found my own way through, and I think like a lot of young people like want to know exactly like what decisions did you make to get to where you are now, because they want to follow that. But like if you talk to all of us, ask all of us about that question, we're going to have like completely different paths and decision
Hmm.
points. And the only commonality is we, wouldn't take no for an answer and didn't quit and, adapted and overcame.
And
Yeah.
what amazes me, as a photographer in today's world, the fastest way from you to the reader is through social media, which we
Mhm.
didn't have back when I was, working as a photographer. And it's just amazing to me how I can go out and shoot, the kind of pictures that I shoot, whether it's a sunrise, a moonrise, a full moon,
Mhm.
lightning storms, things like that. And the faster when I'm out taking pictures, I carry with me that wire service mentality, both from being in the wire
Mhm.
service and from being an editor that uses the wires. So when I'm out shooting a picture, I try to be. I think of it as being, I'm going to be the first person in New York that's going to get a picture of the sunrise on social media.
Mhm.
And if I am, especially on maybe a full moon night, or if you're out covering a big thunderstorm in the summer, you get this, really nice lightning picture. It has all the possibility of going somewhat viral, if not viral, by being the first one with it. Because if I get it out there before anyone else, the meteorologists, like a lightning picture, the meteorologists will pick it up and they'll retweet it. And then it starts going, going, and going, and you end up with 1 million views in no time at all by being first, to social media. So So everything really is about speed in today's world. I mean, everything about being a photographer, to me, everything about being in a position of wanting your work to be seen is about getting it out quickly.
Yeah, that's funny.
And
For me, nothing has been about speed. Like I sat on work for 15 years before I like published
oh
it
my
in the
gosh,
book that, went out into the world. But it was like, that's because like the pictures themselves don't do the thing I want them to do. It's the arrangement and deploying the pictures into like a socio-political argument that I wanted to make. Like it
yeah,
takes me so much time to like build that stuff.
I think it's great.
But
I think that's
we
really great.
all are working in service to the historical record. And it's like there are different approaches to, to getting at that, to like creating something for, historical posterity.
I get antsy if I feel like I've taken a reasonably good photo and it's sitting on my camera disc for longer than a minute before it's
Oh, wow.
transferred to my phone and I can get it out to the world so I can
Yeah, but you're a
share
good
what I've
photographer.
seen.
I'm not.
Oh, you
So it's
are.
like it
I'm
Please,
takes me more
you would not be
time.
selling out of photo books if you weren't a good photographer.
correct. I think that would be absolutely the right statement to make.
Whatever.
So let me ask you this, Gary.
Yeah.
For these wire services that have been able to transmit their imagery to you in lightning speed, have they ever talked to you about their workflow and how they're able to do that?
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. I'm fascinated with all the technology that goes into getting this stuff, and basically, they carry with them. There's a little transmitting device that Sony makes. I forget the model number or whatever it is. It's like the size of two, like the thickness or the size of two cell phones, two mobile phones, and they are all connected. They connect their camera to the transmitter that sits on their hip. They shoot their pictures. They go into the menu on the back of their camera, and they select a photo, and they FTP it to their desk through the Sony transmitter. And the Sony transmitter works on mobile networks. So, it's a mobile device,
Right.
and they are, and it's very fast. Again, you're constrained by the speed of the network you're on, but
Sure.
mobile networks, at least in this country, are really quick now.
Yeah.
And they are literally editing on the back of their camera, picking a picture or two, and hitting send. It FTPs it to the desk. There's an
Wow.
editor on the desk that takes it in, crops it, and slaps a caption on it, sends it to the world. So quite literally, within a minute or two, you've already
Hmm.
got your first picture from
Right.
an event. Now, the workflow at big events like the Oscars, the Olympics, things like that, these really, really huge mega events,
Hmm.
the wire service photographers are all in fixed positions and they're hardwired on a gigabit
Right.
network.
Yep.
So they're plugging an Ethernet cable into their camera and bypassing the mobile device that Sony makes. And
It's going right to an
the
editor who's sitting stage
correct.
themselves right there or
Oh no, that
inside.
editor is somewhere in the world. They're never on site. The editors
Oh,
are no
really?
longer on site. Everything is
Wow.
done with remote editing now.
Oh, my goodness.
When the picture comes out of the photographer's camera and is transmitted, it goes into a server,
Hmm.
and the editor can be anywhere in the world picking that up.
Wow.
And viewing that picture and sending it out. I know Reuters has a big global desk in, I believe, Poland, Spain, and Mexico, for example.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So, on a night when something like the Oscars are on, they're coming up in a month, 2 months.
Hmm.
They might have a desk in Mexico handle all that material,
Wow.
and push out all those photos. So yeah, or if it's Trump, it may be their Washington desk has an editor on the desk that will handle that, because it's Washington specific. But
Yeah.
the editors, in some cases, some of the agencies like to have editors on site, and the vast majority of the work that is published, sorry, the vast majority of the work that is pushed out to clients, news clients, it's almost all coming from remote editors.
So
Yeah.
really, to be competitive in this landscape, you have to have that system in place in order to
Correct.
get the imagery out. There's none of this, oh, I'm going to be a freelance photographer, go out to an event, shoot it, come back to my desk at home, download the imagery, spend,
Right.
an hour making my selects, caption another hour captioning them and putting them out there in the world. By
Right.
then, it's like, well, you're 16 steps behind and the world has moved on, right?
Right.
Depends who your clients are, though. Like, the New Yorker doesn't need you to like be blasting them imagery. Like they just want, like the New Yorker wants one picture that
right.
says it all. Uh, no time for photo essays, nothing like that.
Right.
Something
But,
with a lot of nuance. Yeah.
daily, television networks, like where I work with a website, a television network with a live 24-hour news channel like ABC News Live is, or CNN, or Fox News, or whoever has a streaming or cable channel, they need those pictures just as fast. They need those pictures and video, obviously, just as fast as I would need it to put it on the front of the website from a major breaking news story. And it's quite amazing how it used to be that a photographer might go to an event like the ice issues in Minneapolis right now. Every day there are protests, and the ICE agents and the Border Patrol people are all on the street pushing and shoving and fighting and tear gassing and all that kind of stuff that's been going on in Minneapolis since the woman was fatally shot. Um, the the old way was a photographer would be there and they might have to leave the protest and go to their car and transmit out of their car, right? Upload their photos or download their photos to a laptop and make the selects. There was no remote desk. They had to pick and choose the pictures. They had to write the captions and send them, and then go back out to the protest. Now they stay at the protest, they get a good picture, and they send it. They don't have to do the caption anymore. They don't have to do the transmission. They send it off the back of their camera. It goes to an editor or a remote location, and ABC News has that photo in minutes. And the hardest part now about being a client is the flow of pictures never stops, right? It never stops. So out there on the street in Minneapolis today, you have an AP photographer. There were two Getty photographers. There were two Reuters photographers. There was an EPA photographer, and we subscribe to all those agencies, and their material never stops. And it is imperative as an editor that you are constantly refreshing, your search for Minneapolis to see if something new and better has come in 5 minutes, right? In
Yeah.
5 minutes,
I
you
mean,
used to get breaks, right? You knew the photographers had to leave. And so there
it's
was a
not
time
just
where
it's
it
not
was
just the photo editors who are like seeing this constant stream of images, though. It's everybody. It's like every single
everybody.
person.
Yes.
That's just like sort of the natural like visual environment that everybody has right now. And
Yes.
like with I have always found it disturbing that on the wires that like photographers aren't writing their own captions many of the times that like captions are tacked on. I'm a
Correct.
control freak about my captions. Like,
Yeah.
some editor in Boston, like introducing errors into my copy when I'm in Kandahar is like, that is
Yeah.
nuclear, like blast time for me. But yeah, it's like, what do we lose with the speed you're describing, like has to have some like drawbacks. Like what are those?
Oh, I don't know.
What do we lose?
Is
I'm
there
not
ever any
sure.
maybe concern about accuracy, especially if someone else is writing a caption for you?
Well, the wires write very, very to the point generic captions, and they try not to really um, say too much in the caption other than Donald Trump arrives in Detroit, January 13th, 2026. Done. Or if something from Minneapolis today might be ICE agents confront protesters on a street near where Renee Good was fatally shot,
Hmm.
January 13th, 2000,
Hmm.
26. Really simple. You're trying in the caption not to introduce information that could be wrong.
Hmm.
Hmm.
State the obvious, leave it at that, and that's all you do.
Right.
Right.
But
Right? You're
like,
not telling a story
They're
with
on the
your
side of
caption.
less information as opposed to more.
Correct. Don't tell a story with your caption. Some captions need a very specific piece of information, right?
Yeah.
Like if you're
right.
if you're putting out a picture of somebody hitting a home run in a baseball game and it's their second home run of the game, you want to say that,
Hmm.
right? Because there may be a reason for me as the publisher or the editor who's going to publish the work. I need to know that's the second home run,
Yeah.
right? And so sometimes there's information like that needs to be included. But I find in news, less is more. Don't give me anything I don't need.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
when the caption just describes what's in the picture and nothing else,
Mhm.
like that's not really a caption, that's alt text. So, like
Sure.
so for example, like in terms of like the interaction between like image and text. So, one of our Report for America core members in Minneapolis, Ellen Schmidt, who's with MinPost, amidst her, incredibly like amazing and courageous coverage of the shooting and of the aftermath, like she was on the scene. She also published a picture of a couple lying on their backs on a frozen lake, so lying on the ice, with like a sunset and this beautiful cloud like overhead.
Mhm.
Now the caption is a couple lies on the frozen lake, Bide Makaska, as the sun sets on January 11th in Minneapolis. Immigration and Customs Enforcement has been operating in Minnesota for 41 days. So there's this like oblique connection between like this very sort of peaceful, reflective image and like the chaos of the day. And that to me is like the best thing you can do, like with photography in terms of image and text.
Sure.
It's like, and I understand, like it takes time. It's not efficient, but in terms of engaging an audience that is more visually sophisticated than ever because they are just seeing like this fire hose of imagery and like you've got to like hit them with something A, really legible and two, really like engaging and interesting, like that's a good way to do it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I was thinking about like the cameras that enable this, and I remember a feature on a camera. I never really used it, but the audio dictation feature that you can apply,
Mhm.
where you just press a button and record your information
Mm.
associated and attaches
Yeah,
to that photo. Like that would be
totally.
the best thing to use, especially if the photographer themselves are the ones making the selects, and it's not just every single photo they take getting funneled to the editor, because that would be really
Yeah.
annoying.
I remember my old Nikon had that. I never used it once, but I thought it was amazing.
I played around with it a couple times, but
Yeah.
yeah, it was like just more efficient to just write down,
Yeah.
their name and stuff like that.
Yeah, and when I was a photographer, I loved the audio captions,
Hmm.
and they were good so long as you put the disc into a computer and the audio caption traveled with the file.
Hmm.
Right.
But when you're plugged into an Ethernet and you're on those events where a photographer is plugged in, hardwired to a network, the audio files don't work. You can't do audio files because as soon
Oh,
as you push the button, the file's gone.
Yeah.
okay.
There's
Oh,
nothing to attach it to because it's already gone.
Hmm.
yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, but they're great.
Interesting.
They're absolutely great.
Do you take imagery from sources other than the wires, or is it just exclusively wires?
Just the wires for us.
Okay. Just because
Yeah.
that's
We,
they're out there
we
at all the major events and they're getting you the images
correct.
quickly.
Right.
We don't create any original photography
Right.
in our news production. We do use many frame grabs from video
Oh, right. Yeah,
because
of course.
ABC cameras, ABC affiliates
Hmm.
are out in the field nonstop all day, every day, feeding their video back to a server,
Hmm.
obviously, and we can find that video and do frame grabs and use that, and it is remarkably great.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
I'm
hate to
guessing
admit
they're.
it. I hate to admit it as a still photographer
I mean,
that video is quite usable to do frame grabs and publish from.
the standard resolution of most cameras is 4K nowadays, and I mean that's
Mhm.
equivalent of, gosh, like maybe a 12 megapixel photo or something from back in the day. So
Yeah.
it's not,
Yeah.
and you get that people are shooting even higher resolutions, but you probably don't play with those because it's probably too data intensive to transmit that level of
Yeah. I
quality.
mean,
Yeah, I'm just amazed at how fast the material appears
Yeah.
when there is a breaking story in a town that the wires aren't in, a small town, small market, but there's an affiliate TV station.
Hmm.
It's really quite impressive at how quickly the TV stations around the country are feeding video,
Yeah.
especially in the large markets that have helicopters.
Yeah. Right.
Anything that happens, the helicopter's over the news event in literally a minute. It seems like, if the helicopter's already in the air, it's like instantaneous. It's unbelievable. If they have to take off, it takes 5 minutes to get there.
Yeah. Right. Well, in those
Right.
instances where it's like you just have the lone freelancer who happened to be lucky and in the right place at the right time, and they got the picture you want, and they're not associated with the wire. How is that getting to an affiliate or an organization like yourself to publish, if at all, or it doesn't?
It doesn't get to us. Um, the photographers who are out there, freelancers, independent photographers who get something, most of them have some kind of connection to somebody somewhere, whether it's the local paper or the Wire. Maybe they've done a freelance assignment for Reuters or AP or Getty somewhere along the way, and they have a phone number to, a person to talk to. Say, hey,
Hmm.
I was in the right spot at the right time, and I got this material.
Yeah.
And they can shop it around, right? They'll shop it around if they're smart. And see who might want it. But that's what I find is that most people who are out there on the street have a connection to someone.
yeah. Yeah, I have to like really have like a deep Rolodex of like who's young and hungry and getting after it in like microscopic markets like all over the place.
Mhm.
Because like the people who are doing really amazing, enterprising work on their own because they believe in it, that's a great candidate for Report for America.
Sure. And the other thing to keep in mind is virtually nothing in those situations where a photographer might have something, nothing is exclusive anymore like it used to be,
Mhm.
because
Yeah.
there's probably 15 people with their cell phones
Mhm.
shooting the same thing at the same time, and they are uploading to Twitter, Threads, TikTok, Instagram Reels, if it's video.
Right. Hmm.
And most publications, most news organizations, I should say, have what they call visual verification departments.
Hmm.
And those are the people that reach out to user-generated content across
Mhm.
all those social platforms. And you try to be the first to connect with the person that uploaded the content and get permission to use it.
In the age of kind of AI and AI image generation and video generation, are there sort of measures in place to verify that the content that is coming from the users isn't AI
Yes.
generated?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Everything is verified. There's no question as real, whether it's us or Reuters or the New York
Hmm.
Times. The New York Times did a really nice piece.
Hmm.
I think it was the New York Times last
Yeah,
week.
this is
Was
the
it
Times.
on
Yeah.
Venezuela, on how they, I know we did this too, how they verified all the videos that
Hmm.
came out of the scooping up Maduro. And
Hmm.
it's really fascinating stuff how
Right.
these groups are using Google Maps, and they're using coordinates, and they're taking metadata off of the
Hmm.
the video if they can get the video directly from the person who shot it. A lot of platforms will strip the metadata out of it, out of
Yeah.
a piece of content,
Hmm.
and so you can't just take it off of Twitter and verify it. You got to go a little deeper than that,
Right. And
Go to
and
the
but
source.
it's
got to go
important
to source.
for our audiences to understand that there is no such thing as an AI detector. Like it
Right.
take like that's LLMs, like the very nature of them makes them not able to be reliably detected 100%. That's just not it. So, but yeah, like that Times piece about like explaining that these are government handout images, and that being so, like we can't just take them at face value. So like we have to
Right.
investigate. So these are the tools we use to investigate, and these are the methodologies. And that's still like some shoe leather reporting. It's not just like, yeah, we
Sure.
plug it into this app and it just tells us. That doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Absolutely, and the public needs to know that for as much as the term fake news is thrown around in today's world, the public needs to know that mainstream media publishers are truly investing the money, time, resources to prove that a piece of content that they have, a visual piece of content that they have, is authentic and not AI and not created. And I don't think anybody understands that, as to how many resources are being thrown at these pieces of content, be it a piece of video or a photograph, to verify that it was real and authentic, and you can believe what we're presenting to you.
Yeah, it's amazing. Like 10 years ago, I would have told you that like spot news as a career choice was dead as a doornail. Like, cell
Yeah.
phones just killed it. Citizen journalists are
Mhm.
doing it, just as good or better than, the most
Cameras
talented like
improved so much.
spot news photographer. But now it's like come back around to where like we're in this flood of like AI generated misinformation,
Yeah.
and the only thing that, makes a photo reliable is whose name is attached to it. Like if that photo
Sure.
has a byline from a trusted journalist, then it's like, all right, that spot
Mhm.
news might be legit. I would not have expected that, but I feel like that's kind of where we are right now.
Sure.
It's like the value
Absolutely.
of the actual mirrorless or DSLR camera someone's using and the metadata that applies to that on top of obviously coming from a reliable source, you know, multiplies the reliability of that potential image that someone's sending you. Vice, yeah, here's a picture I took with my phone. Maybe I had an AI filter on it. Maybe I had, because now all these
Yeah.
phones nowadays, they do so much processing within the phone itself. It's almost like,
Yeah.
can you trust what the phone is taking with the filters and the extra
Ugh.
processing and the multiple layers? It's,
I
you
wish
know,
everyone would think about this. That like
hmm
The best,
just
yeah.
taking a picture with your cell phone is like inherently distorted and
hmm
manipulated.
right.
The best description I ever read about that was cell phones, both the Pixel, Samsung, and the iPhone, take fake-tastic photos.
Yeah,
Yeah, they do.
totally.
Yes, the person took a picture, pushed the button on the screen and took a picture, but
hmm
the image processing that Apple, Google, and Samsung are using is it's beyond the comprehension of anybody to
Yeah.
really understand the software side of enhancing an image. It's not
Mhm.
changing the content, but it's doing so much enhancing to it that maybe by the time it outputs a JPEG, there's no real pixels left.
Mhm.
It shows you
Yeah.
what you took, but they're not really the pixels that you recorded.
Yeah, I wonder if that's like, when you read something that's like obviously ChatGPT generated, and
hmm
it sounds like it should mean something, but it doesn't really have any meaning. And I kind
Yeah.
of wonder if like we're interacting with images in that way, like Gen AI images in that way, where it's like, I mean, you see them on like Facebook all the time, those, old man with a fishing pole that's like obviously AI generated, and it's like, is the meaning really there? Does it really communicate anything? I don't
Yeah,
know.
I'm amazed at how much these images that the cell phones are creating have become accepted,
Mm.
in the toning and how they look.
Yeah.
right? It's HDR, it's super HDR, and it's balancing light. It's just incredible to me, right? And the example that I always use, here in New York is this phenomenon called Manhattan Henge.
Oh yeah.
When in May and July, there's a couple days where the sun
Hmm.
sets on the grid. No matter what street you're on, you'll see the sun at the end of the street, as it's setting on the horizon. And um, the sun is low, it's a sunset. So it's at the very bottom of your frame, shooting down 42nd Street. And 42nd Street is completely black, and
Hmm.
it's if using a camera, it's all completely black, as you would expect, with
Hmm.
a sun on the horizon, and it's not illuminating the street, and people are silhouetted and all that. But that's when you use a real camera, right? That's what
Hmm.
we're our eye and our being is trained to expect when you're out there shooting that. But everybody goes out there with a cell phone and they shoot a picture with an iPhone. Everything is lit like it was in a studio.
Hmm.
All those silhouettes turn into real, clear, detail-oriented people, and the
Yeah.
street is all illuminated beautifully, and it's incredible what the phones can do to make that visuals just
But it,
absolutely stand out.
isn't that just like, as photographers, we are constantly beset with the expectations of non-photographers for what a good picture is? I mean, that's just like, that shit was just programmed by, like, that's what computer programmers think a good picture is. And they're wrong. It's like when you're trying to take a picture on the street and somebody scurries out of the way, like, oh, I'm sorry. It's like, no, that was part of my picture, man.
No, we want to move. We want to, like
Yeah.
in Pixel phones. I use
Yeah.
Pixel phones, and
Yeah,
it's
me
like
too.
Google Photos has erase,
Hmm.
right? It wants to take out those things it doesn't think you want, that you've purposely put in.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's crazy. And it's a constant battle. I have a friend who works at Apple, and in the photo division of Apple, developing their software and developing
Hmm.
their product that the camera will churn out. And it's a battle. You just hit the nail on the head. It's a battle between what a photographer feels a picture should look like versus what a software engineer
Yeah.
thinks a picture should look like.
Yeah.
And the two are a mile apart. And he will go out and he will go take pictures with a Hasselblad or fancy expensive cameras and present them to software engineers and tell them this is what you have to match because
Hmm.
this is what a camera produces. And they're like, no, we're going to do what we're doing because this is what the public wants. So it's a I guess it's an existential crisis within
Right.
photography as to what is really what people want to see.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, who's to say we're right? I mean,
Right.
I
photography,
am.
like professional photography, that's just a microscopic conversation between a bunch of nerds for like 150 years. It's not that big a thing.
But
Uh,
but but give Apple credit for wanting someone to present to the engineers and the software developers
mhm.
what real photography is.
Yeah.
Right? That it's not cheap. They're investing in trying to make, sorry, they're investing in trying to constantly make the product that the iPhone produces better.
Yeah, I mean, I
But
know some great visual thinkers who work at Apple. Like Apple pays
yeah,
them, you know? What, do they listen to
but
them? I don't know,
what
but they
is
do pay them.
No,
who is the judge of what is better?
Yeah.
I
That's
imagine the
the
people who buy the phones and
Mhm.
look at the imagery, right? Because I mean, they're the ones consuming it.
you know
We're
I
talking
I mean
about.
I get a new phone, and I get a new phone from Google. I've always used the Pixel phones,
Okay.
and all the controls for super HD and super processing and super whatever are all defaulted on. And when I get a new phone,
Yeah.
I have to go in and find all the settings and turn them off
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
so
So,
that I'm not using the vision of a a software engineer to create an image for me. I am, still taking that picture that their phone records and presenting it my way, not their way.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So let's pivot a little bit, talk about pretty pictures. Because that's what you've been
Hey,
focusing on, Mr. Hershorn,
I
taking your
have.
pretty sunset and sunrise photos. And we can kind of talk a little bit about like taking feature photos in general, because that's what those are, right? Feature photos.
Absolutely.
So kind of talk to me about your process. I mean, is it just the same thing? You just go out to the same location every day and shoot different, variations of it, or you would find different locations to shoot sunrises and sunsets, and what's your process?
Well, look, I've been doing it for gosh, I started shooting the New York skyline, and incorporating pretty pictures and documenting the changing skyline of New York. That began This project that I've been doing began in the summer of 2011,
Mm-hmm.
which was the 10th anniversary of 9/11.
Mm-hmm.
I was working at Reuters at the time, and the world's attention that summer was on New York and what was happening in New York 10 years after the attack. And for 10 years, nothing happened here. Construction ground to a halt, nothing was being built. There was infighting amongst developers, politicians, families of victims of 9/11, what to build downtown, how to do the march. So nothing really happened in those 10 years. And then all of a sudden, when One World Trade Center started to pop out of the ground in 2010, 2011, New York took off. And there has been in the last 10, 12, 14 years, a building boom here, like it was equivalent to the 1930s when we saw the Rockefeller Center built, when we saw the Empire State Building, the Chrysler Building, and all that. So I've been documenting that, and I've been incorporating moons and suns and pretty pictures and sunsets and sunrises into the photography. And I got onto social media very early and found out that people really like the pictures across the world. New York is a special place, right? Everybody likes to come to New York. They want to dream about coming to New York. So that is what fueled my desire to keep shooting these pictures. And now it's been forever. I was out shooting Manhattan Henge this morning, so or yesterday and today at sunrise. Um, but everything that I do is planned. Nothing is random. I don't just walk out on the street and go, "Oh, there's a moon in front of me." How, but what luck to be out on the street at 5:30 in the morning and a full moon is setting,
Mm-hmm.
behind something. It's all planned with the help of apps, alignment apps. I use one called Planet Pro. Where I go on any given day is determined by which landmark for this next week or two the sun is rising behind, right? So there's certain times of the year that you can shoot the sun rising behind the Statue of Liberty. And then at some point, it starts rising too far to the north in the spring, and you can't go far enough south along the harbor to photograph it because it's just dead areas that you can't go to, closed off areas. So it's all based on the app. It's on any given day. I'll check out what's the relationship of the sun to the World Trade Center, what's the relationship of the sun to the Statue of Liberty, what's it the relationship to the Empire State Building or Hudson Yards or the Chrysler Building or something like that. The beauty of New York is it has more recognizable, iconic landmarks than any other city in the world. So you can pick a different one every day, almost every day. You can pick a different one just to mix it up and stuff like that. And then there are very specific photos. Like, for example, what's coming up in February. It happens in November for a week and it happens in February for a week when you can go onto the Manhattan Bridge and see the sun set behind the Statue of Liberty through the Brooklyn Bridge,
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
right? So for about a week in November and a week in February, you can start on one side of the bridge and move to the other in the course of a week and get that picture. And then all of a sudden, it doesn't happen anymore because the sun is either setting too far to the south in the winter or too far to the north in late winter in February. So that's what determines where you go. It's all based on what aligns with the sun on any given day,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
whether or not
absolutely.
there's a place to actually stand to shoot it, right?
Right.
We have a spot that's about 13 miles away from New York in Jersey called Eagle Rock Reservation.
Hmm.
And next weekend, if you go out to that place, it's 13 miles from New York. For like Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, the sun will rise for 3 days directly behind Lower Manhattan and the World Trade Center, right? And then after 3 days, it's rising too far to the left of the World Trade Center to come through an angle behind it.
So how long a lens are you using in this scenario?
Anywhere from a 3, a 4, a 6
Okay.
equivalent,
Okay. So
equivalent
not like
of
a
those kind of things.
2000 millimeter
No,
telescope.
no, not at
Yeah.
all. No, nothing like
Okay.
that. Nothing like that at all. But those are the determinations. It's like I
Hmm.
know this weekend you got to be at Eagle Rock. If it's sunny, you'll get a picture of the sun behind the One World Trade Center from that vantage point. So that helps knowing local knowledge and knowing where you need to be on what days of the year to get these very specific moments. Like for example, the past 2 or 3 days was what we call Manhattan Hands, right? Most people shoot Manhattan Hands sunset, and that's the big one in May and July when you end up with utter chaos on the street and thousands of people
Hmm.
all, standing in the middle of 42nd Street trying to shoot the sun setting down. And it's become such an amazing Instagram moment. And that chaos doesn't happen for Manhattan Hands sunrise. But you got to use the apps to know the alignment to see when the sun is going to come up right on the horizon, and that was the last 3 days. And it comes and goes, right? But you need to know what time of the year that will happen, and then you narrow it down with the apps to the actual 2 days that it actually happens, where the sun is actually touching the horizon when it rises. And now we've gone past that. And so every day, the sun is going to rise a little bit higher above 42nd Street, until it's rising over top of the buildings, in another month. And then you have to wait until next November to get it coming down in the fall. And so those are the things that you remember as a photographer, being out on the street and doing this for years and years. You know the angles, you learn the spots that are clear views of the skyline of New York. There are some that are 13 miles away, 15 miles away. The best of them all is a spot that's 23 miles away and you can still see Lower Manhattan, right? So
Wow.
it's incredible. Yeah, you
That's
you you
amazing.
get you get a beautiful sunrise in April and August from that spot.
Isn't that just
Literally.
like one of the magical things about photography to like help like change the way somebody like sees the world? Like
Yeah,
the way New
absolutely.
York looks, like, yeah,
And sometimes no joke, you could wait 2 years to get that photo
yeah.
because it only happens like for 2 days and it's cloudy
Hmm.
those 2 days. So you go out in April, it's cloudy, you don't get the picture that you're wanting. You go back out in August, it's cloudy again. And now the next chance is April, and you've waited a year, and you might have waited a year previous. So um, there's a lot of frustration involved in trying to get pretty pictures of this town. So
Yeah. So you're shooting those pictures, you're getting the photos transmitted to your phone, and then you're uploading them to social media right away. Is that
right
kind of like
away.
your workflow?
That is exactly it. Shoot a picture, whether I use Canon, Sony, Nikon, they all have apps.
Yeah.
They connect the camera to the phone. You just pull the picture into your phone and put it out. I don't do any post processing. I don't do any real Photoshop on the photos. The cameras are so good at recording light, and they're so good at recording the tones.
Hmm.
There's really nothing you have to do, to be
Yeah.
perfectly honest with you. I use Canons because I shoot so much sun related content,
Yeah.
and the oranges, the reds, the pinks, the purples that come up at sunrise and sunset. I've always felt that Canon's processor in the camera is the tone of the image is more true to what I see, the warmth of what I see.
Hmm.
Right.
Nikon tends to go a little bit on the blue side, and
Mm.
Yeah.
Sony tends to shift a little bit colder than warmer.
Hmm.
Fuji goes
Fujifilm to
way
the
to the warm
green.
side.
Yeah. Seen
Yeah,
Fuji
I
So
have
ones that were
Canon
like
as well.
green.
Which Canon camera are you using, by the way?
I use the consumer grade stuff. I have an R10. I have an R10, and I have an R7.
Yeah.
And I like the R7 because it's an APS sensor, so everything is multiplied by about 1.6, 1.7.
Yeah.
So you don't need a teleconverter; it's just naturally built into the sensor, being a smaller sensor.
Yeah, my buddy Peter's been using one of those Sony Super Zoom cameras that has the 1 inch sensor. So
Yeah, yeah,
like,
yeah.
yeah, so you can get tremendous depth of field because it's got this tiny little
Yes.
sensor, with like a 600 mil equivalent lens.
Oh, absolutely.
You can do crazy effects with it.
I use Canon's little $300 lenses that are this big, and it's the equivalent of a 100 to 400 millimeter lens on
Yeah.
on the R7 and the R10. So
Hmm.
I don't invest in their professional grade gear. The
Hmm.
R6, sorry, the R5, the R6, the R3, R1. The days of needing that kind of professional gear are done for me.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that stuff's just too heavy, isn't it?
It
Right?
is. I can't use it.
Yeah.
I'm much too old to hold on to those professional grade lenses. They're
Yeah.
too heavy. I don't know how
They're
anybody does it.
too heavy. Yeah.
I think that's one
It's
of the reasons why cameras like the Fuji 100, I don't even whatever the one with the fixed lens on it is
yeah.
such a popular street photography lens, or the Leica
Mhm.
Q
Yep.
series. People love these because they're light and small and easy to carry around.
Yeah. Got my little plastic Diana here.
There
So
you go.
light.
Yeah.
I got my panoramic here. This is a 360
Yep.
degree panoramic.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, it's from the 90s. Yeah.
That's
That's
crazy.
awesome.
Hmm.
Wow.
So I you know, gear for me, I must have a flip screen on the back. I don't
Yeah.
use the viewfinder. I never look through the viewfinder. I like a flip screen because I like to put cameras on the ground or move them around. I don't like shooting at eye level, and it's really nice to be able to flip the screen. And it just amazes me that cameras come out in today's world that don't have flip screens. It's a deal breaker for I think me and a lot of people. I just don't get it. You
This
know,
one, this one kind of, yeah. The
yeah, just like
GA50,
that.
yeah, that
Yeah,
flips. It's great. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. That's it's like the first iteration of the Q, the Leica Q, didn't
Hmm.
have a flip screen.
Hmm.
And then Leica came out with the Q2 that did. They realized,
Yeah.
oh, the flip screen. Hey, people like it. And then Leica decided to come out with a cheaper version of their Q, the Deluxe 8,
I
and
had a
which is a
Deluxe 3.
3, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the
Hmm.
Deluxe 8 comes out. It's a gorgeous camera, beautiful in every possible way. And but guess what? No flip screen.
Yeah.
And it drives me crazy that these manufacturers just miss that. Same with the really cute camera, the Ryko, the
GR3X. Yeah, I've got one of
GR3.
those. Yeah.
Again, no flip screen. And they just
So
updated it. They
what
brought
drives
out a new one.
what drives me insane with the Ricoh is no flash.
No
Like a
flash.
compact camera with a fixed lens should absolutely have a flash.
Flash.
That's
Right.
like how those work. That's what they're good at.
Hmm.
Right,
But nobody makes like a really tiny compact TTL hot shoe flash
right.
that's like
I,
legitimately
I, j-
tiny.
I don't know how the designers miss that
Yeah, I
in
know, right?
today's world. I
And a flip
don't
screen shouldn't
understand
take up
it.
any extra space.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, I use the Canon and I have the camera Canon app, and I found it to be convenient but also frustrating. Like if you want to transmit your photos in real time to the app, you have to keep the app open and the screen
Yeah,
on the whole time. And that's just
Yeah.
like that's so
annoying.
inconvenient.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, you have to usually I just go in after a shoot and then I gotta spend a few minutes connecting it because it takes a reconnect and then I go and so make my selects and then I download the imagery. I'm glad it exists, but I wish it was more convenient,
Yeah.
especially if I'm
I
going to try
get
and keep up to pace with all the wire services.
I just get frustrated by, I'm taking pictures, sending them over, and then boop, just disconnects.
Yeah,
Hmm.
that's also very
Why?
annoying.
Like, why? Like, why did it disconnect?
I don't
It's
know.
not, okay, it's not a big deal to reconnect, but for me, the problem is if you disconnect and reconnect, then you no longer see what you've already downloaded,
Yeah,
right? Because
Yeah.
every time you download a picture to your phone, it's marked as having been transferred.
right.
And if it disconnects, those all disappear.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
So,
probably the only camera company that's just like a big enough company to probably do software well is Sony. Like everyone
right.
else is just like a tiny little company that makes cameras or maybe some medical diagnostic equipment. So
Hmm.
yeah, they're gonna suck at software. But like it should at least exist with Sony, right? They're a huge, massive company.
they
Yeah,
are. Yeah, no
yeah.
question. But I don't use Sony, so I don't
Yeah,
know.
I don't either.
Mhm. Just the
Yeah.
wires.
I
All
can't
right.
believe you have three photographers here and no one uses Sony. It's really strange.
I mean, I've got a couple of them in a closet. I never turn them on.
Well, my first
Yeah.
ever camera that I bought was a Sony camera after I left the military. So I'd been using issued camera gear when I was in the military. It was mostly
Hmm.
Canon and Nikon. And then when I left the military the first time, I actually bought the first ever Sony DSLR that they released. It was like a big deal. I think it was like the Sony, I forget, Alpha or something like that. And it was unique because it had a built-in vibrating sensor. So every time you have little dust particles on your
Yeah.
sensor, right? Always annoying. You have to clean those up. This camera would vibrate the sensor and clean those off. So that was like the big selling point. And so that was my first ever, camera that I purchased after leaving the military. And so, but I haven't come back to it since. I played around with Panasonic, played around with Canon. Canon's my go-to right now and preferred, method for taking pictures, but
I have
they're all so great.
I have to say that, when the camera manufacturers figured out how to put a cover over the sensor, right? It used to
Yeah.
be you take the lens off a digital
Oh
camera and
yeah.
the sensor was right there, and they're like you always
Hmm.
had dirt, right? So now we have this thing that closes in front of you take the lens off and then you
Finally.
turn the camera off. I have never noticed less dust with that than it was without a cover. I don't know how dust finds the sensor, but it does no matter what you do,
Yeah.
and it drives me crazy.
Yeah. Me too. All right, guys. Well, that's been our hour talking all about the fun photo world, everything going on in the world of photojournalism, photography. So great to have you both on the program to talk about that. Before I let you go, is there a call to action or area you'd like to send people toward to find more about you and your work? Start with you, Ben.
Sure. I mean, let's talk about like early career photographers. What do I do? If you are interested in local news, photographing your community, check out Report for America. Check out our photographers. Hit me up anytime if you got questions about how to get started.
That's great. Do you accept applications from 44-year-olds?
Nope. No, we do. No age limit.
That's great. Gary?
Well, to see my work, to see what I do, I my two favorite places to post right now are Threads and Facebook, believe it or not. The engagement on Facebook is crazy off the charts.
Mm,
And Threads. I've been really liking Threads. It's a photo community, really nice photo community on Threads.
Oh, good.
Photographers, I think it's called Photographers of Threads or something like that.
Wow.
And I've been really enjoying the community, and I've been really enjoying the type of followers that I have in that environment and that platform. Instagram for me has become too influencer oriented.
Mhm.
They push reels to the max on Instagram. I love the videos. I use TikTok. I don't post on TikTok really, but I use TikTok to consume videos. But uh, for a photographer, I think for me, the two biggest audiences I have are Threads and Facebook. And I'm finding used to be Twitter outshone everything. You could put a picture on Twitter and get tens of thousands of views. And now it's not like that anymore. It's a much different audience, I think, on Twitter that you get a really good picture, it can go viral and but it goes more viral quicker on Facebook than anywhere else.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the
There's
Threads. I
something
haven't.
about 3 billion users around the world, right?
Right. I know. Yeah, it's a little bit.
A- and an algorithm that learns what you do and pushes it out to a wider audience.
Funny. I just look at Facebook to try and find undervalued chainsaws on Marketplace.
Yeah, absolutely. Threads. I haven't seen that I haven't used that app since it basically came out, but maybe I'll look back into it since you recommend
Yeah,
it so highly.
yeah, I do. I like it. Yeah.
Awesome. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. It's been great talking with you both and reconnecting. We have to have you back on the program again. I know we're going to be getting Ben on at some point to talk about his new book.
Oh yeah,
Excellent.
coming soon.
Exciting stuff. So
Yeah, yeah,
awesome.
Always great to talk to you, Dave.
Indeed. Always great to talk to you guys.
yeah.
Well,
Thanks so much for having us, Dave, and really good to meet you, Gary.
Likewise, Ben.
all right. Great to make the connection. All right. For Ben Brody and Gary Hershorn, I'm David Murphy. This has been Around the Lens Roundtable Discussions, and we're out of here. See you, everybody.